By now, we all know that Joann's is done for and has been officially admitted to retail hospice, unfortunately. And if you're anything like me, by this point, you also might be really tired of talking about her terminal diagnosis. But I'm going to talk about it anyway, even though I'm kind of sick of hearing about it myself, because I've made a whole blanket in her honor, and Joann deserves to have her better days immortalized, even while we're talking about her downfall. Okay, so let's talk about it. I know that this is going to be a harsh critique, but unfortunately for Joann's, I'm a harsh person. And it's going to be a harsh take because over the last couple of years, I haven't really wanted to shop at Joann. And there's a couple of reasons for that I want to get into. But the primary reason is the shopping experience just became so routinely disappointing. Every single time I would go there, I would say over the last 2 years, I would leave thinking to myself, I don't really need to come here anymore. And that's really not what you want your customers thinking as they're walking out of your store if you want them to come back and purchase more items. But the reality is, I didn't have a good shopping experience there. Now, why is that? Let's talk about it. Personally, I found that Joann very rarely had what I was looking for. I would take the time to go into town, drive there, go into the store, go down the aisle, look for what I want, and then just see it empty. The shelves would be empty all the time for the last couple of years. Now, specifically, this used to happen to me a lot with like crochet hooks or knitting needles. They never had the size that I wanted. And it just became extremely frustrating because I felt like they never restocked their shelves. Or they did restock their shelves and then it was just gone again, but they were not keeping up with keeping their inventory in stock. And that was just extremely frustrating because at some point I started saying to myself, I don't need to come here for these items. And I probably shouldn't waste my time coming here for these items because they're not going to have these items when I get here. So why am I even bothering? If they did have the item, okay, if they did have the item, I would then need to go wait in line it would take 30 minutes sometimes to check out. It would take a ridiculously long time to actually get out of the store once you had your items in your hand. Now, why is that? Why is it taking so long? Well, a couple reasons. There's not enough employees. There are not enough employees here on staff, and there are not enough people at the cash registers checking people out, and they don't have self checkout, which I'm assuming is because they didn't have the money to invest in it. It just felt like the store stopped storing. Okay. Felt like the store stopped being a business and it became a place where there sometimes were items that you might want to purchase, and most of the time there were items that you already had and there was nothing new to look at. That sucks. Once I would actually get what I wanted, I would go to wait in line and it would take me way longer to check out than it actually took me to shop. I would be in line sometimes for like 30 minutes. Like, people were frustrated. Like, I was frustrated too, but I'm not an ass. So like, I didn't sit in line going like, I just like sat on my phone and did stuff. But a lot of people were just standing in line being like aggravated that they were standing in line for so long. And like, I get it, but this is also a craft store. No one's dying. And like, they're understaffed. I'm a nurse in a hospital in an emergency room. We're routinely understaffed. People wait forever to be seen if they're not dying. That's the reality of the situation. But Joann's isn't an emergency room. So we have to keep all things in perspective, right? Like, waiting in line isn't that big of a deal. No, it's really not. So let's not sit in line and be all frustrated and irritated and annoyed. But waiting in line for a really long time at a place where you're purchasing something that is not essential might make you think twice about going back there to purchase something else. And it definitely did that for me. I would think to myself, oh wow, I lost my 5 crochet clover hook. And they have those at Joann's. Or do they? Do they? Am I going to drive there? Is it not going to be in stock again? And then if it is in stock, I'm going to have to wait 30 minutes in line hearing somebody's grandmother huff and puff about how irritated she is that she has to stand so long. I don't know. Maybe she has really bad plantar fasciitis. What do I know? Maybe her feet are really aching her. But like, do I want to sign up for that experience? No. No, I don't. Not really. So there was that, right? They very rarely seemed to have what I was looking for anymore in stock. It felt like there were boxes everywhere that never actually got opened and with the stuff taken out and put on the shelves. probably because they didn't have enough staff. It always felt like there was nothing new to look at. So, of course, they had their seasonal section, and I don't really care about their seasonal section. Like, I like gardening, so, like, sometimes I would look at their gardening decor and things like that. But, like, I don't like buying a lot of stuff, like seasonal items, because I don't like to rotate items in my house constantly. It just seems like more work and more clutter. But I know that some people really like those types of decor items and they do really cute things with them, but that wasn't for me. That wasn't my thing. So, yes, that was the kind of stuff that would rotate stock, but like everything else just felt stale. Everything else felt like you had seen it 100 times before every other time that you had gone into Joann's, to the point where it seemed like some of the stuff wasn't coming off the shelves at all. Like it was just almost getting dusty on the shelves. And one time this actually happened to me and my husband. His name is Andreas. And one day, Andreas had purchased this leather fixing kit. You get a rip in leather, and like you need to repair the rip. You get this leather fixing kit, and I don't know, you put this like goo on it and it's like a glue and it looks like leather, whatever, it doesn't matter, but it's a liquid, right, that you would put over a tear in leather and it would seal the tear. Okay, so he purchased one of these at Joann, and when we got home it was literally solid. It was solid as a rock, baby. Like you couldn't actually use it. He couldn't put it on the leather. He couldn't put it on the tear in the leather because it was solid. No longer was usable. And we had purchased this item, right? So could I have taken it back and like gotten my money back? I guess so, but I would have had to drive 20 minutes back into town, stand in the forever line, and then for what? How much did that cost me? I probably used up more to get there for gas. Like it just became not worth it. So what did my husband do? He went on Amazon and he purchased a leather repair kit and he used that and it worked fine. So what does that show him? Okay, well the next time I need something that could be arts and craftsy, I'm probably not going to purchase from Joann's because the last time I did I got burned. So the popular stuff at Joann really seemed to be anything to do with textiles and fibers, right? So you have your fabric over in the textile area, you have all your sewing notions and things like that. And then you have like yarn and all of your notions for knitting and crochet. And those really seemed like the most popular items. And I totally understand. That was the most popular section for me to go and shop there. But let's talk about their other sections for a minute, okay? So Joann sold a lot of things. Joann sold a lot of things, but most people seem to be there for only a couple of things that they sold, okay? So what I mean by that is there were all these other sections in Joann that no one ever seemed to be shopping in. Let's talk about the back corner section where they usually kept the baking accessories, like things like craft bakers would use, and like children's toys. And then there was always like a couple of sections dedicated to wooden things that you could purchase and then paint, like a lot of random like unfinished wood items that you could you could purchase and I guess paint or make something out of, whatever. But it just seemed like no one was ever shopping in those sections. There was also a section on like doll making. Yeah, sometimes I would see more people shopping in the doll section than I would in like the baking accessory section. But it was just weird. There was so much square footage dedicated to stuff that nobody seemed to be buying. And it was always dark. And like a year ago, my Joann shut off the lights in that area. Like it was literally dark. They turned off a big light. It was dim. It was hard to see what you were looking at. And you want to purchase these items, so you want to see what you're purchasing, but it was dark over there. And it was kind of by where the framing section was. So and that just went the way of the dinosaurs, baby. Like, forget about framing. It's not happening here. Go to Michael's. But they just shut that whole thing down and then they just filled it with boxes. There were just boxes everywhere and the store looked messy and it looked cluttered and these boxes are taking up aisle space and now I have to turn around. I can't even walk down this aisle because it's just filled with boxes and it's like, okay, and that's probably a fire code violation and no one here seems to care about fire code, so I'm gonna turn around and like, what's in those boxes? Is what I want that's not on the shelves in those boxes? Can I get it out of the box? It was just chaos, mayhem, very dysfunctional and not enjoyable to shop in. It didn't feel warm and inviting. It felt like you were kind of in an apocalypse and you were looking for random craft supplies and no one's been in the store in like 10 years. No one's dusted. The SNL skit was correct. First of all, I'm a big breasted nurse, okay? So I am their target audience, okay? They got me there. And then the second thing, the dust. There was so much dust. There probably still is, but I'm not going back there. There probably still is so much dust. The lights are off. It's dusty. Some of the products on the shelves are literally dusty. No one seems to be cleaning the floor. I mean, maybe they're cleaning the floor, but they're definitely not polishing this floor. And there's so much space with product that no one seems to be buying. Let's talk about another section, the fake flower section. And I understand that people make floral arrangements and that wreath making is a whole thing, but it just felt like no one was ever shopping in those sections. And so much space was dedicated to like artificial flowers. And very rarely did I actually see people purchasing it. I didn't see people standing in line with artificial flowers. I didn't see people in the aisles where the artificial flowers were out in stock. It just felt like who is here? Who is buying these items? Why is this being sold here? It just felt like Joann had stopped keeping up with what people actually wanted to buy. And what they wanted their stores to feel like. Like in this economy, baby, like you need your stores to be appealing, okay? No one wants to shop in a crusty old big box store that reminds them of Sears, okay? Sears died for a reason because it was a sad place to shop. And eventually, at some point, Joann for me became a sad place to shop. And I understand that that's not going to be probably the majority of opinions. I know people are really sad about Joann closing, and I am also sad about Joann closing. There are a lot of things about Joann that I am going to miss, like their yarn selection, tip top in terms of budget yarns. You really couldn't get a better selection of yarn for budget prices. Like you're just not going to get that kind of selection at Michael's, and you don't get that kind of selection at Michael's. And maybe Michael's will up its game. Hopefully they will, because I am really going to miss that about Joann. But like that's pretty much the only thing I'm going to miss about Joann. And the fabric now that I sew. But I didn't really sew when I was shopping at Joann. I had just started sewing. I've just started sewing only recently. Yeah, it was just crusty. Sears got crusty. Bed Bath & Beyond got crusty. What else clothes that got crusty? There's all of these places that JCPenney, Fortune Off, all of these places, the retail apocalypse, you know, when you're not maintaining your business and you're just kind of expecting it to run on the fumes of what you put into it years ago, it's not going to grow. It's going to remain stagnant. It's going to be the same thing. But the reality is the economy is not stagnant. The economy changes, culture changes, what people are interested in changes. And if you don't keep up with those changes, you're just going to be left in the dust. Literally, unfortunately for Joann, it was left in its own dust. The shopping experience routinely disappointing. They never had what I was looking for in stock. If they did have what I was looking for in stock, it would take me like forever to check out. I know a lot of people have complaints about the service that they received at Joann and some of the interaction that they have had with employees. It is very rarely, if ever, the person in front of you that is responsible for the problem that you are experiencing with a business. Okay. It seems like people ran into issues at Joann's and became agitated with the staff. And it's not the person in front of you's fault. It's who they work for. Okay. And it's never right ever to treat anyone disrespectfully, period, in my opinion. Unless they've disrespected you first. Then you can fight fire with her. I know too that there are a lot of disgruntled Joann employees, and that didn't really make the shopping experience great either, because you might be hesitant to ask them for help because they didn't really seem like they wanted to help you very much. There were a couple people at my local Joann's who were just fabulous every time. And like I would, by the time I finally got to the front of the line, by the time I actually got to check out, I was always excited to see her at the checkout because she was just so nice, and she was always so genuinely curious about what I was making and like if I knit or if I crochet and like what I was doing with the yarn. And she would see, like, I would see her a lot, and I doubt she even knew that it was me over and over again, but I knew her, and she was awesome to check out with. And that was great. That was a great part of the shopping experience. But again, Joann didn't treat its employees very well. So they all left when the store was purchased by the liquidator. So now all of those people are gone. Otherwise, you would hear a lot of moaning and groaning and grumbling, and it kind of would make you be like a little nervous to go up to them and ask them for help. And there were, of course, exceptions to that. There were certain employees that, like, I was just so happy to see every time. But yeah, there were definitely those times when I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to ask her if they have what I'm looking for, because she seems like she's already a little annoyed. So that's not good for your customer experience either. I mean, Chloe Rosart talks a lot about that and the experiences that she has had with some of their employees. And no hate to Joann employees at all. I totally understand what it's like to be exploited by the industry you work for. So I get it. I get the grumbling. I get it. But, you know, if you don't take care of your employees aren't going to take care of you. And your employees are not going to take care of your customers. That definitely was something that made me go, I don't know if I need to go here today. I don't know if I need to go there. Maybe I could just go somewhere else. So what I decided to do as an ode to my old friend Joann, who I used to love and I used to really appreciate, and then over the last couple of years we started to drift apart. But in order to memorialize our better days together, I have created this blanket that I absolutely love using Big Twist Value yarn. All of the yarn that I used for this project came right out of my own stash. I didn't purchase anything new, mostly because I have a ton of Big Twist yarn in my stash from years of shopping at Joann, and I figured that this was a great time to use it up. And I created this ripple blanket that is what I now know as a vaporwave-esque aesthetic. I had never heard of vaporwave until this blanket started to near completion, and my husband looked at it and he was like, "Oh wow, that's like vaporwave." And I was like, what the hell is a vaporwave? But it's this aesthetic where it's like electronica, it's like kind of neon-y. And I really like it. I actually really like this aesthetic. I gave it a little bit of a goog and I looked through some like pictures on Google Image, and I really liked what I saw. So yes, it is kind of vaporwave. It's pastel-y, but it's also like not like Easter pastel. It's like pastel and like kind of cool. But I ended up going with a dark purple, light green, light blue, and pink. And that created a really awesome wave effect, a vapor wave effect, if you might. And it's a ripple blanket that I had gotten the pattern out of like a Bernat, those like magazine pattern books that are kind of thin and like their patterns are like not that well written, but it gives you enough to kind of like get there. And I loved making this blanket. I absolutely loved it. I was looking to make something that would be great to just kind of throw over my shoulders when like taking the dogs out, like the early spring mornings and like late summer nights when the sun goes down or it's not up yet and it's still kind of chilly. I just wanted something that I could just kind of throw over me. And it's also a really good personal throw blanket. So we're going camping this weekend, and I guess I started it about 2 months ago, and I really wanted it finished by the time we went camping, because when you're camping and the sun goes down, a little bit of chill in the air and you're sitting by the fire, it's so nice to just have like a little throw blanket to toss over your legs. And I'm so excited that it's done. And it was actually really easy to do. The pattern was very simple. It was just each row over and over again. It was nine rows per color. It was almost a little too boring for me, but it was exactly what I needed in terms of like a mindless project. And I got to use up a lot of my Big Twist Value yarn, which I'm super excited about because I love using stuff that I already have. And the only issue I really ran into was the edging. The edging became, the edging was like the biggest headache of the entire thing, because the pattern itself was really simple. And I guess I just got really comfortable with how simple it was. And the pattern made it seem like the edging was going to be easy. They made it like they were just like single crochet around. It's like, that's the biggest pattern trap ever. Single crocheting around is not really as easy as it sounds, because the blanket, it has a different texture in different sections. So the single crochet is not going to look uniform. So what I decided to do instead was basically try their instructions multiple times, realize that the instructions were not working, and then just do my own thing. So what I ended up doing is a double crochet border on the long edges of the blanket. And I then just kind of repeated the pattern in the border color on the short edges. So I love this blanket. I love the way it came out. My dogs are obsessed with this blanket. Unfortunately, my dogs are at the point where they think that anything made out of crochet is for them, because I've made them a lot of crocheted things. I think they feel it and they're like, oh, wow, thanks. Thanks for the new blanket. And then they just go and sit on it. It was actually really difficult to keep them off of the blanket when I made it, and when I was like filming it like on the floor and just showing it, whatever. It was very difficult to like keep them from laying down on it. But I'm glad that they like it. I am. And I'm not the kind of person that obsesses over like not letting my dogs on these homemade blankets, because my dogs lay on the couch. The blankets are on the couch. The blankets can be washed. They can be thrown into the dryer with, acrylic yarn. Even though Big Twist says that you shouldn't throw it in the dryer, I'm probably going to throw it in the dryer on like delicate setting with a one of those fabric softener sheets. And like, you can get the hair off that way. I'm just not that much of a stickler. Like, life is for living. Dogs deserve to lay on warm blankets. And you know what? It doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, don't let your dog on your homemade crochet blanket, but it doesn't bother me. If it was something that I was giving to somebody as a gift, or if it was an item that had been commissioned, I obviously wouldn't have let them just lay on it. But it's a casual blanket meant to be, used in my house, and my dogs are in my house, and they can use it too. I'm really happy with the way that it came out. I have become very well acquainted with the characteristics of Big Twist Value Yarn, and I plan on doing a video about that very shortly. So we'll talk about what Big Twist used to be in the next video. But I'm really excited, and I'm happy that I got to share my kind of rough, kind of harsh take on Joann's. The reality of the situation is that they just kind of let their stores crumble. And that sucks for us, people who love crafting and like art, but sometimes the things you like don't last forever. Nothing lasts forever. But sometimes the things you really enjoy check out before you're ready for them to kind of be gone. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast, though. If you're going to let your company just kind of stop being functional, just stop progressing, you're going to let everything fall apart, then your stores are going to fall apart and your business is going to fall apart with it. As sad as I am for the crafting community in general, I also really understand why Joann's is no longer. It's because it wasn't doing well enough as a business to keep being a business, and when that happens, you go bankrupt. I'm sad personally that I'll never be able to kind of experience the joy of going in there and the thrill of kind of finding something and being like, oh, I really like this and I want to take it home with me, because I haven't felt that way about going to Joann in a long time. So if you totally think my take is trash and you absolutely love Joann and your shopping experience hasn't been routinely disappointing for the last couple of years and you haven't had to wait in line for a half hour every time you went there, feel free to disagree with me down in the comments. If you like this kind of stuff, if you're interested in my really spicy opinions and my loud voice, feel free to subscribe. I like to make videos related to arts and crafts and my spicy opinions. But yeah, the next video I plan to be making will be all about Big Twist yarn and what I think about it. And other than that, thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you on the next one.